So my name is Coltyn Turner. I'm 16 years old, but my journey started when I was 11. I actually drowned in a Boy Scout camp lake, and I swallowed a lot of lake water, and the bacteria from the lake water kind of just triggered my Crohn's disease. After that, I was tired all the time. I was constantly in pain. I wasn't growing. I was actually 4 means behind in growth, and I was in failure to thrive. The only places that I would be during the day were the bathroom, the couch, or in bed. I was a cancer patient with hair. I was a skeleton with skin. I basically was withering away to nothing. And I was on many pharmaceuticals at the time. This was me when I was first diagnosed. We didn't know what Crohn's disease was. We didn't know what to do. And it was a complete nightmare. These are some of the medications that I was on. Azicol being like a Tylenol. It didn't do anything for the pain, and my Crohn's disease was still extremely painful and extremely out of control. I was on other medications like Endocort. I actually don't remember what happened while I was on Endocort, since it was such a long time ago. And I was on so many other medications like it. Remicade, it was an infusion-like chemo treatment. And I actually developed rheumatoid arthritis and medically induced lupus because of the Remicade. I was making antibodies towards it, and I was only getting sicker. Methotrexate is the next pharmaceutical that I was on, where we only had 1 dose. The first dose, I was having nosebleeds for 15 minutes straight. So we immediately had to stop. The next medication was called prednisone. Prednisone has been known to give you a puffy face and make you a little sensitive to the sun, which did happen, but I also had deteriorated bones. I actually had to wear a boot for 3 months because the bone in my heel was so deteriorated that I couldn't walk. The last medication I was on was called Humira. Humira was the only medication that did at least a little bit of help. The only thing that it helped with is I grew a little bit and I had a little more energy. I was still constantly in pain, constantly in the bathroom, very tired, and altogether not a normal kid. When I was on the Humira, I had to get a shot in the thigh every 2 weeks, and it wasn't even FDA approved for me. Well, when we thought that I was feeling at least a little bit better, we decided to go to a camp for kids with Crohn's disease. But every kid there didn't have an immune system, so if one of them got sick, all of them got sick. And I was one of those kids. My lymph nodes had swollen to the size of golf balls. They were painful to the touch, and the doctors were freaking out because they didn't know why I was reacting this way. Some of the side effects of the Humira that I was on at the time were tuberculosis or T-cell lymphoma. So the doctors decided to have a lymph node biopsy to take out one of the lymph nodes and run some tests on it because that's the only way we could figure out what was going on. The surgery was on Friday the 13th, so I immediately didn't want to go. And here's why. 3 days later, we get a call from the doctor saying, hey, you need to come back in. We need to get it back in there while the wound is still fresh. We were like, what are you talking about? And they said, we took out the wrong organ. We took out salivary glands by mistake. So I constantly have dry mouth. And there's nothing that we can do. We can't sue or anything because normally a human can live without salivary glands. But I also have a digestive disorder, which is not very fun. After that, we were pharmaceutical free for a couple of months, and we had no options, except these 3. Some of these pictures, I can't remember the pattern that it's in, and I keep forgetting to press the space bar. This was me. This was me when I was about 11 or 12. And that's all I did all day. I didn't go outside and play. I used to play baseball. I used to do gymnastics. I was too weak to do both of those. I couldn't ride around town with my friends on their bikes. I couldn't do anything. After we stopped Humira, I eventually became so weak that I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't go to the grocery store before having to sit down or lie down because I was too weak and I had no energy. After we stopped the Humira, we were faced with 3 options. We could have surgery, which meant that they would be taking out 22 centimeters of inflamed bowel. I would have a colostomy bag for the rest of my life. It may not even help the Crohn's, and I would stop growing completely. Another option was a pharmaceutical called Cimzia, very similar to Humira. But after we heard about it, I immediately researched it and looked up the side effects, and it turns out that if you are an adolescent who is a male who has been on both Remicade and Humira, which I was increasing my chances of developing T-cell lymphoma by 66%. So we couldn't do that. We had no other options, so we decided to look up alternative treatments. So we immediately started researching Colorado. When we first showed up to Colorado, we had no idea what to do. We had no one who knew about cannabis and Crohn's disease. I mean, we had to go through trial and error. When we first started, we basically just made pot brownies in our hotel room. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know how much cannabis I was taking. My dad would just take a brownie, say, this is how it affected me, cut it in halves, and then give it to me. That was the only way we had dosing. But we finally found an oil, a form of cannabis that comes in an oil that we put into pill capsules. And I've been on the cannabis for almost 3 years now, and I am in complete remission. I am almost completely Crohn's free. Unfortunately, the cannabis doesn't cure the Crohn's disease. It can put it in remission, but if it was a cure, I wouldn't be taking it anymore. But I was finally out of the wheelchair. I finally had the energy to ride my bike or play baseball or go to Boy Scouts. I could do all that kind of stuff now, all because of the cannabis. And it led me to this quote: "I'd rather be illegally alive than legally dead." This is what I've been carrying with me for almost 3 years now, and I've been using this information to try and educate people, to show people that cannabis really is medicine, and that it could help. But when we first started off, we didn't know what we were taking. I mean, when we first found our first caregiver, we said, what do we take? What kind of medicine do we take? How much do we take it? He said, I don't know, just here's this, try what works, and we'll figure it out. And it was a lot of trial and error. There was a lot of ups and a lot of downs, a lot of amounts of cannabis going up and going down. And eventually, we just tried and tried and tried until we found something that was right for me. And now, it's the number one medicine that I'm taking. I don't take any pharmaceuticals. I don't take any other medications. I only take the cannabis, and that's the only thing that's put me in complete remission. This was my colon before the cannabis, and it was on about 5 months of zero medication. It's inflamed, it has ulcers, you name it, it's in there. And this was 7 months after the cannabis. It's completely clear, and it's complete clinical remission. Nothing else did that. Now, I take 4 capsules a day of cannabis every 6 hours. Each capsule has about 15 milligrams of both CBD and THC, which totals about 60 milligrams a day, every day, for the past 3 years. It's the only thing that's worked, and it's the only thing that will continue to work. Now, I'm going all around the world, or almost all around the world, just trying to educate people about this medication. Now I'm educating all around. I went to the Boston Freedom Rally this year. I always take pictures with a little sign that shows how long I've been in remission with a little message. And I've been doing this for 3 long, hard, and complicated years. I've won several awards. I was nominated the 2015 Advocate of the Year. I've helped bills get signed. I've helped laws get passed. I've inspired other people to start using cannabis. And they have started to see the same results that I have. It's working for them. Although it may be different, because every person is different, every strain is going to be different as well. Everyone has their own separate kind of medication that works for them. The way my mom describes it is everyone has a road, and each road has potholes, and you need to fill those certain potholes. Everyone is going to have to go through the same trial and error as I did. No one gets it instantly. No one takes one dose and decides whether or not it's working. You have to keep at it. You have to use it over and over and over again until you finally see a difference. And now, cannabis is my only medicine, but it should have been my first option and not my last resort. My name is Coltyn Turner, and I'd rather be illegally alive than legally dead.